Hey,
Hey, we can hear you now.
oh my God. Listen, I've never done this before. You gotta be, I'm sorry. It's the first time I'm Instagram living with another person.
What took you so long to Instagram Live?
Oh, I don't know. I'm really scared to Instagram live, period. But I don't know. I've never been interviewed on Instagram live, so I have no idea.
So congratulations on your first Instagram Live interview.
Thank you.
We have a very good reason to be talking. Your new movie, Endings Beginnings, is
Yes.
coming out. It's going to be available on digital at, I believe, midnight tonight, right? So people can download it and watch it at home in only a few hours.
Yes, they can, and they should. Yeah, no, I'm excited for people to see it. We're very proud of it, Shailene, Jamie, and Drake and I, and you saw it, right?
I've seen it twice now. I
You
saw it
saw it
first.
twice. No
I saw
way.
it twice. I saw it at Toronto Film Festival, and I saw it again recently at home.
Okay.
I was given an early copy, and it's directed by Drake Doremus, who is a great independent filmmaker. He made Like Crazy. He's made a bunch of really great movies. Can you
Newness,
talk a
yeah.
little bit about what appealed to you about working with Drake? Because he works very differently than most directors, right? There's no completed script when you start to sign on for a film.
Right. No, there's only an outline, which is about 70 pages, and it's sort of like a very general, still loose direction of where he wants the story to go, how the scene should play out, and then everything is discovered in the moment on the day. So a lot of what you're going to see in the movie was improvised, and then um, one of the things that he's such a master at is being able to take all these moments and piece it together into a performance. And it's the editing also which blows me away because I have no idea how he edited it together. No takes were the same. So,
And you
but
and Jamie Dornan play these two guys that are both
star-crossed friends.
vying for Shailene Woodley's attract and love and attraction and interest and attention.
Yes, yeah, we're good friends in the movie, and our friendship is tested when we meet Shailene. But um, yeah, it's an interesting. Look, it's a very honest movie about how confusing relationships are sometimes, and really how messy they are, in terms of beginning, middle, and end. Things don't just always close, the door doesn't just close. Sometimes it drags on. And I mean, it's one thing that I've loved about Drake's movies, especially like Crazy and Newness, was sort of the vulnerability and the intimacy that he seems to capture, the authenticity of sort of the connections between people. I mean, I love romantic comedies, but it's not the same.
And I was interviewing Jamie Dornan. It's not the same. I was interviewing Jamie Dornan, and he said that I guess Drake let you and him pick who you wanted to play, and he said you picked the good guy, and you wanted to play kind of the bad guy because you thought it was more fun.
No, I didn't think. I don't think
He's not
bad
a bad
guy.
guy, but he's kind of
No, no, no. I know.
he's a
I'm just
player.
being funny. I
Yeah.
no. I would have played either role. I would have played either role. I mean, Drake, put me in that role, and I was really happy with it. I was just happy to be a part of the movies. It didn't matter what he was going to choose. But actually, when we met originally, I said to him, I feel like the other role is a lot more. Seems sort of closer to me in a lot of ways that I thought, but he didn't think that. So
Oh, so you actually wanted to play the Jamie part, or
I
you
didn't.
thought you
I didn't.
gravitated towards that?
I thought originally, like when I read it, I was like, oh, I feel much more in that world. But then when I saw the movie, it didn't make sense to me. I mean, I wouldn't see it swapped. I think the way that it was cast was the right way.
How do you go into a scene knowing that you're going to be improvising? Do you write your own dialogue? Do you think about it before? Do you wing it? How do you act in a movie where everything or most things are improvised?
I mean, look, it's definitely scary because you're like, how interesting of a person am I? uh, when you have a scene, you have lines, you sort of kind of get a little, sometimes you have a little protection because you have to say that at the end of the day. But yeah, you're wondering whether you're going to come up with interesting things or not. And but we had a direction. We knew a little bit like, okay, this scene, what we want to get is that they're meeting right now. They talk about a couple things. They establish a connection. And then a lot of that comes from sort of a dynamic that you build from rehearsal, which we didn't have a lot of, but we had about 2 weeks worth. And just being open with each other, and Shailene, who's incredible in this movie. I mean, she was, it's like acting opposite her. She, every time, it was just total vulnerability, total honesty. And I'm not saying it's easier, but it's a lot easier when you have someone opposite you who is just giving you their all.
Were there scenes that you did that you tried something that made you cringe, or that you knew right away was wrong?
Every scene made me very upset because every scene made me question why I'm doing this, and why my relationships haven't really worked. No. Yeah, it was like I'm just saying, it was a very exposing process, because that's why Drake, going back at the end of the day and looking at the movie, and he shaped the performances. I mean, there were takes that we probably shot for 20 minutes straight, without cutting, and we would go all over the place. And so yeah, but you go home and you wonder whether any of it is any good, and but it kind of is nice because it gets you out of your head. It gets you out of your comfort zones in a way too. You show up there tomorrow, and then you're just, all you're trying to do is just be as present as possible and available to any accidents, anything that might happen. There's a couple scenes towards the end of the movie, particularly one, I don't want to give it away, but like between Shailene and I in a restaurant, which we did not, that whole scene was discovered in that moment. And it came from, and we tried it a couple times and we weren't really getting it. And then it just came off of us just responding to each other about different things that were coming up at the time. And then that's what ended up in the movie. So
did you know what Drake was going to use, or did you have a sense when you saw the Final Cousin movie which scenes would be in the film, or was it a total surprise for you what direction the film took, or like the scenes that made it in?
Yeah, I really didn't know what he was gonna. I really didn't know what he was gonna use. Yeah, there were moments that I knew were funny or that were good that didn't end up in the film, and I agreed. I was happy that they didn't, because, again, I don't know if they were fitting into the story. And then there was all these other things that I didn't know we were doing at the time. Little things that he would cut to, and then that were more behavior sort of oriented, that told us a lot more about the characters than just what was being said. It was sort of like this other body language, which always happens. People say one thing, but then their body language is a whole other thing.
How do you feel about the movie being available in homes? And everyone's home right now; they're in quarantine or self-isolation. How do you feel about people being able to see the movie in homes?
Well, I mean, if we could, I wish we would have different circumstances, obviously, for the movie. I think it's so beautifully shot, and I every frame that Drake has in this movie is thought of, and every single angle, everything was thought of. None of that was accidental. And so I wish the experience would have been on a bigger theater, but I'm also very grateful that it can be watched now. And this is a crazy time. I mean, this is it's a testing time basically every day. And so if people are at home and they want to tune into something else for 2 hours, and maybe we can make them think about something else, or then then why not?
It is a very difficult time, and a lot of people are struggling with the idea that they can't go outside. How have you been passing the time, and what have you been doing?
Talking to myself, which is always no, it's look, I mean, by the way, you're in New York, right?
I am in New York, yeah. You're in New
You're in
York
New
too,
York.
right?
I'm in New York too.
Yeah.
Listen, we're 10 minutes away from 7 p.m., baby. You know, that's the moment of the day that I feel like, and for no, you know, for people out there who don't know, at 7 p.m. people go out their window or wherever they are and they start clapping for all the workers and everybody when their shift changes, and it's kind of an, you know, it's kind of one of those moments that really, sorry.
I didn't say
Oh,
anything.
I was saying that moment, I don't know how you feel, but it hits home, you know, because like in a way, everybody's on the same page, you know, no matter where you are, what apartment you're in, we're all kind of like connected for that moment at least. And there's something very special about that. And, you know, it's about those people that hardly ever get any kind of, you know, notice for their work. But, you know, I don't know how it is for you. I mean, it's, you know, for me, it's sort of been, I try and do something productive every day, and you know, I've got some writing that I'm doing and some reading, and I haven't been home in a long time actually. So it's been nice to be home and finally kind of hunker down, and then I just think about all the things that I've taken for granted, you know, and how nice it is that we're so lucky to be able to do the things that we do in our life, and we don't think about that anymore, you know, and so I just hope when we come out of this, we don't just like blow through that, but that we maybe learn to take each other in and a little bit better. And the fact that we could be so close, and you could touch somebody, you can hug your mother whenever you want, you can call your, you know, and go over there and be close to them, and now we can't. So it's interesting, right? I mean, how are you?
It's, you know, some days are easier than others. I think
But
it
you
all
guys
kind
have
of,
work probably too. You
we
guys,
have work, we're doing interviews, we're talking to people, I'm making calls, but it does feel like the days start to blend together, especially in New York. And
right?
particularly in New York, it's hard because we're so, there's so many people that live in such a small concentrated space. So going for a walk is difficult, or everyone's supposed to be wearing masks now, but not everyone
Right.
respects the social distancing there.
Well, I think we have that problem everywhere. I mean, not just in New York, which is unfortunate. And it's just what sucks about it is all it's going to do is just going to make everything longer for everybody. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, it's a nice day out, and look, I mean, you got to take care of your mental health too, right? So if it's, you know, if you want to go for a walk, I mean, there's times you can go for a walk, I believe, like really early where it's still empty, where you're staying away from other people and so on. But if it's nice out, and you know, this isn't the time to be going and having a picnic in the fucking park, you know what I mean? Which is still happening. So I don't know. It's yeah, it's tricky, but there's probably, you know, there's something for all of us to learn from this for sure.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your career choices because you have had such an interesting trajectory, especially in the last few years. You've starred in the Avengers franchise, obviously, but you've also done some really great independent film work. You were in Itania. You just worked with Drake. You've been really you're in Destroyer. You've been taking really big risks. And I was wondering, how do you choose what you want to do? Like, what appeals to you about a script, or what brings you into a story?
Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I think it's all about you know, the character or the directors. You know, I'm just trying to kind of surround myself with people I admire, who I like to think are a lot better than me, and by default, I'm just going to end up learning and being better myself. So a lot of those choices are based on finding directors who really have like a very specific vision, and then honoring that vision, and then you know, if other great actors are in the piece, then it's great because you're always going to be on your, you know, best behaviored A game when that happens. But yeah, it's because I don't think of movies. I don't think, and even TV is not, like, to me, is not really an actor's medium. It really belongs to the writers and the directors, and so it's just kind of having to fit into that world. But I'm just trying to do things that, you know, are interesting to me, and kind of make me scared, and keep me on my toes, because I know if I get, I'm a very bad self-critic, so it's like if I feel like I'm leaning too much into my little Sebastianisms, then I kind of, you know, get critical about that. So I try to mix it up or something.
Your Sebastianisms.
My Sebastianisms, I don't know. I probably had like 56 on this Instagram live as it is. You know, it's like I got to stop saying, you know. I really have to. I have to stop saying, you know, among other things. But I have a few.
How did starring in the Avengers franchise change your career?
Well, I mean, like, it was huge. It was, you know, it was 10 years ago, 2010, when I came in, and looking back, I feel like I was, you know, I had half the amount of experience and knowledge that I do now, and in a way, I felt I grew up with the franchise as a person myself, and in a way, I feel like that character grew up with me as well. But I don't think any of these movies that you referenced, even the one that we're talking about today, would have been possible without it. You know, for me, like that, the level of exposure that it's, you know, allowed for me, and on an experience level as well. I think it's all been affected by it. I mean, I wouldn't be here without it, for sure.
And how did it feel to have Avengers Endgame become the most successful movie of all time?
I mean, that's just wild. You don't even really think about that, you know. I mean, it's crazy to think it's bigger than Titanic. I mean, I went to see Titanic way too many times in the theater, you know. That old Billy Zane, let me tell you, he really still gets me now, old Billy, you know. But it's wild, man. It's exciting because, again, like, 10 years worth of you know, filmmaking went into making that movie, and so the fact that people went out to see it and supported it so much only shows how much they love the characters, how much they've invested in the past 10 years, and they feel like, in a way, they grew up with the movies. So it was great.
Is there anything you can tell us about your involvement in future Avengers movies?
Oh, I know, you know, I know nothing about that. You know, I'm just, you know, I'm just a man. No, I'm trying to, we got to figure out a couple other missions first, you know, before we even get there. I mean, I got to deal with, you know, this other person that I have to, you know, it's been nice to have a break from him. I mean, you know, Anthony is just, Mackie is, you know, it's kind of nice to have a little quiet in this quarantine without him. But we got to figure out some adventures together first before we get there.
Do you get to see the Marvel movies early, or do you have to see them with everyone else?
No, well, Avengers, both of the Avengers I saw at the premiere. We'd never even read the scripts, so that was crazy. And then the other ones I'd seen earlier, yeah, like, I think so that we could, you know, we could do the press, like Civil War I saw a little earlier.
Our social media editor, Meg Zukin, hi Meg, if you're watching, wanted me to ask you if you had any insight into what's going to happen to Carter Bazan in the Gossip Girl reboot.
Oh my God. Oh, the old Carter Basin. You know, he's still out there somewhere on that island of Maui or something. Who knows? I have no idea. It's just wild. I can't believe we're gonna have a reboot, but it's kind of cool. It's kind of crazy. It also reminds me of how old I am. That wasn't even that long ago, you know. But yeah.
It wasn't, but it feels like it's been a long time ago.
It does. Well, yeah, it does. It was 2008, and yeah, it was like a different world, you know. But it was a great, you know, it was a great job. Like I was so happy being a part of it. I was in New York. It was, you know, I was working with my friends. I mean, it was, and also that show was really kind of that was it at the moment. Like everybody was talking about it, so it was great. I remember going into the fittings and being told, "You're never wearing a belt again." You know, from a fashion standpoint, and being like, "Okay, I never wore a belt again." You know, but yeah, here we are.
Cool.
Say that again.
Weren't you allowed to wear a belt? They just didn't like the look of belts.
No, they don't do no, they the costume designer Eric did not. By the way, we got to clap real quick.
It's time to clap for.
Hold on, it's 7 p.m. I don't want to show where I live,
Right.
but we can clap.
Yeah, we should clap.
Workers.
I don't have a stand, but let's clap for our healthcare workers.
Exactly. Here we go. 7 p.m. baby. One more down the road. All right. Yeah, it's crazy. The other day there was a woman actually on the street, and it kind of there we go, and it kind of like broke my heart almost. She started playing New York, New York by Frank Sinatra, just blasting it out loud, and everybody was just like, "We ain't going down, baby, no matter what." So
it's the best part of the day. It really is, hearing everyone come out and cheer for the healthcare workers and doctors and nurses who are so heroic and making daily sacrifices every day to save lives. It really is the best part of the day and best part of being in New York right now.
Yeah, there's a little bit of unity that's going on, but yeah, in terms of the Gossip Girl fashion, I think that set a couple trends, if you remember. I don't know if I remember them entirely, but with men, I remember that. Don't wear belts.
Good to know. I don't remember that, but now I'll go back and I'll look and I'll see that there were belts on the show.
Yeah, watch. There's not a belt on that show.
Sebastian, thank you very much for joining us. The movie, again, for everyone watching, is called Endings, Beginnings. You can watch it digitally at home starting at midnight tonight. It's a great movie. I really loved it. And it's been great talking to you. Congratulations on your first Instagram Live.
Thank you, man. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for enjoying the movie. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Good luck out there. All right. Stay safe.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching.
Bye.